Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we have another thread discussion video, and I've been kind of on a roll. You guys are probably going to see these videos kind of come out, per day basis, but I've done like 4 already in a row, and I'm in a good mood today, so we're just going to keep, pumping these out. But this one is called My Bannerlord Feedback. It has received some good, good feedback from a lot of people on the forums. People said it was well written, and we're going to go over it. I'm going to link this down below for people who want to check it out for themselves. Pretty much he is going to talk about, I guess, his experience and stuff I'm guessing he would change or how he feels about certain things. I'm going to read through it. I'm going to give my opinions of it like always, and we're going to go from there. Alright, so my Bannerlord feedback. These are just my thoughts and opinions. I really enjoyed Warband and I like Bannerlord a lot. Lots of potential. I played it a bunch. When it first released in early access, it didn't stop until around patch 1.3, I think. I recently came back to play a bit of patch 1.5, the latest beta, so 1.5.5. Okay. So first, leveling, attributes, and perks. I have to say I don't really like the leveling system or the perk system. Even the reworked perk trees I'm not a fan of. I think the character builds would be more interesting if you got all of your attribute points on character creation and could allocate them how you please. And then maybe there could be some rare non-repeatable quests or one-time books in-game that could net you a bonus point in each attribute, but not beyond the cap of 10. Alright, so we're going to just break this off whenever I want to give my opinion. Usually I kind of read through the whole thing and then give my opinion, but there's a lot to read through here, so we're just going to do it by like a paragraph by paragraph basis. Look, I think I've stated this in multiple other iterations. I like the book idea. I think that should have been implemented into the game. And also another thing that can make the game very interesting, I think every village and every town, I think there should be chests and also these books that they're going to be a little bit hidden. They could be either could be in a static spot or they could be kind of in a randomized spot whenever you load into the town or the town or the village, and pretty much you can go around, and this would make actually exploring the town or the village very exciting, and if it's a chest, it should either have some dinars, some let's say some food, some wood, some maybe like something like jewelry, something like that. That would be very exciting to have, and it would actually be kind of fun to check out the towns and stuff, especially early on. I think that'd be very, very cool. And also you can include these books in random places as well. I think that'd be very cool to see, and I do agree that would be a very good thing, in my opinion. Now, the non-repeatable quest, also cool. I don't know exactly. Oh, by the way, I wanted to add to the books and the chest idea that I had, right? So with this idea, to kind of make it so it's not like very heavily like abused, you could always just put like a time limit for the respawns. Like you can put like a in-game week or something like that for the respawn. If you find, let's say towns have 3 chests in it, or a variation of 3, just 3 spots where you can either find a book or a chest, right? And villages only have 1 spot or something of that nature, right? And they'll be obviously hard to find. That's the whole point. You kind of want to make them hard to find, kind of like it's a stash spot, right? And whenever you do find, let's say if you find 1 in a town, next time you visit that town in a week, or you can even make it a month, to be honest, just to kind of really balance it out. Only 2 will spawn or something of that nature, right? I think that would be very cool, very cool. But I do agree the books in game is a good idea. Now, I think you should probably also get more focus points from beginning and less as you level up. The actual leveling up system, like how you get from level 1 to level 2, is a bit weird. And admittedly, I don't fully understand it. It seems that you can level up the low levels really quickly, but it slows down a lot when you get to level 10-ish. So maybe some balancing there to flatten the progression curve a bit so we can level up reasonably consistently. Yes, I agree. Again, I agree. I think the kind of like the invisible cap that a lot of people see in terms of leveling, where it's just like you get to a certain level and then you don't see another, attribute or focus point until like I want to say like maybe 20 hours of game time. I think that's a real problem. I think to have a system where you always feel like you always feel like you're leveling up it's always a good feeling, you know, and yeah, I think it should come a lot more frequently. I think it really should. Now, with the perks system, I don't mind a lot of perks, but it seems bizarre to me that some perks are mutually exclusive. I feel like all the perk trees, and particularly the weapon perk trees, should be more branching than just two railroad tracks. For instance, with one-handed, I think it might be more interesting to have perks which specialize you in axes or maces or swords, but I don't know. To me, the perk system is a bit just boring at the moment and doesn't allow for much variability or specialization as I'd like. This point I would kind of disagree on, but again, I see his point, if that kind of makes sense, right? I don't have a problem with how the perks are right now. The fact that you have to make a choice whether it's A or B, I think is fine in my opinion. And I like the fact that we have secondary effects for perks now to make them more viable in a lot more different situations. And if you really study the skill tree, you can really build some good builds. You know, if you could really, and I think in the future, once all the perks are said and done, finished, I am going to make some videos kind of like talking about different builds for different variety of things that you want to do, right? Either if you want to be like a recruiter, which recruits the best type of troops, if you want to be a person who's very charismatic, stuff like that. I'm going to make a lot of those type of videos once the perks are said and done, right? But I see his point that he kind of wants to see more like a branch off effect. So I don't mind either way, but I think the current system isn't bad. As an aside, I also think you should be able to assign companion perks when you recruit them, or at least pay some sort of cost to reset their perks and your own. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think what you should be able to happen is kind of the same way that we're gonna have. So pretty much what the devs are working on is once your child becomes of age, they're going to go through this education system, which is pretty much another character creation screen that you are going to go through. The same one you go through when you started your character, but it's going to be for your children, right, that become of age. And I think it would also be cool if we could have like a side one for companions also, and I think it could be implemented. Will it be implemented? I don't know if it will. It's like a maybe, right? But it would be a cool mod if it was made into one, right? Now, smithing, crafting, and trade. This is smithing. Ooh, we talked about smithing in a past video, recent video, on how to make it more dynamic. And like I said in that video, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like they just have to. Before I read what he has to say, I feel like they just have to rework the whole system of smithing. Just in a way, kind of scrap the idea and just think of a whole new way to do it. Because like, I don't know, the current smithing system, it just gives you too much reward for no risk at all, if that kind of makes sense, right? Because you can do it from early game when you aren't really fighting any wars or anything like that, and you can really just like, even take your pace, get all the money in the world, to be honest with you, and then just, pretty much be invincible. Because if you have all the money, you can get your trade all the way up, you can, you can buy out any really clan that you want, regardless of what they want. You can just attack places, then make peace as much time as you want, because you really have infinite money at that point, So yeah, it needs to be changed, man. All right, so the smithing and crafting system needs a total overhaul. Yes, look at that. Look at this guy. We have similar minds over here. It's really bad and unenjoyable right now. I think it should be redesigned from the ground up. Exactly. Not sure exactly how, but yeah, just my 2 cents. Exactly. I don't know either. I really don't know either exactly how you would do it, but it just needs to be done. I don't know. It's a tough nut to crack. Also, odd that you can craft melee weapons but not ranged weapons, and also no armor. I think smithing overall needs to be made more useful and should have more noticeable / noteworthy effects on your character / your party. Exactly, and that's kind of why the video did earlier on where the person stated on a Reddit post where it was like, give us modifiers back where there's a chance to actually make some good weapons that are modified, that have like the reinforced modifier, like the stronger modifier and stuff of that nature, and also let us craft the parts, and then with the parts let us craft the weapon. So then it's kind of a harder process to just than just spamming the best weapon there is and then just selling it off. I'll also say that trade probably needs to be looked at. It's really easy to make money through trade, particularly early game, and I find that all my games I inevitably start out by doing lots of trade. Maybe the other forms of revenue earning should be more competitive and viable versus trade, like quests, tournaments, trade. Oh, he's a trade again. And fighting looters as bandits and selling prisoners. I agree that, you know, trading probably needs a little bit more looked at, but at the same time, talk about this. Quests are garbage. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it right now. I'm gonna just say it. Well, you know, if you disagree, it is what it is. Quests are only good early game, or if you want to try them out for the first, second time. Like I said, they don't scale well for the mid to late game. They really don't, unfortunately. But I do enjoy the quests in terms of content, but in terms of like making a lot of dinars or getting a lot of reputation, it's not there. Tournaments, again, they're very good for renown early on when you need to get to the next clan tier. That is true. And then fighting looter bandits and other stuff, that is the best way to make money in the game. Best way to make money in the game. Fighting, I would also add lords and caravans to this. The best way to make money in the game. By far. Not even close. You know? Well, I wouldn't say it's the... Yeah, it is kind of the... because you have to actually exert yourself to actually do that. I don't know. That's a good conversation to have. What would be the best... what's currently the best way to get money in the game? You know? And you can't just look at how much money you can make from it. I would say smithing, right? If you actually think about it. Yeah, it would actually be smithing. I don't even have to think about it. Yeah, smithing is the best way to make money in the game currently. And it's not even close. But if we took smithing out the equation, that's a good discussion to have. But that's something I have to think about, so we're not going to have it now. There's a lot more to read. All right. Tournaments. Tourneys in particular need to be scaled better as you level. I suggest having different tournaments for different tiers of renown. When your renown is low, you will get small awards, which are still decent for when your renown is low. So, and you just fight against commoners and soldier units basically. Boom. Listen, dog. Listen. So we talked about this. What's it called? We had another person who made it one of these type of threads, and they talked about tournaments, and they had like this kind of system, and I kind of added on to it. I don't know exactly what they said and exactly what I said, but kind of put together what was said in that video was that I think that you should have renown should be a thing that you should have, but you should also have like this other counter just made specifically for tournaments. And it pretty much is like a tier. It's not, how can I say this? It breaks down into 3 groups. Beginner, intermediate, veteran, or something like that, right? Something between there, right? Or champion could be the final one, or whatever. But based on if you win or lose tournaments, your score will go up or down. And based on which group you're in is exactly what you say here is who you fight against. You know, whether it's a commoner if you're a beginner, or whether it's other huge champions if you're a champion, right? And since the stakes are high in the champion thing, you would obviously make more money. You can bet a lot more. It could be a lot more intense and stuff of that nature. I think that would be very good for the game, making tournaments very, very, you know, like a viable thing to do from start to finish. I think that'd be super cool if you could just start and become like this tournament master from start to finish. I think that'd be super cool. I think it's a viable thing that they can do. If not, listen, mod developers out there that are listening, do it. Do it. Add tiers to it. Add, you know, higher opponents for the higher levels, and add, you know, bigger bets to be made and bigger prizes to be, you know, for you know, the higher level you get. It would increase the tournaments so, like, it would make them so much better. I don't know, like it would just make it so much better. Like, there's literally no downfall to it either, you know, like it sounds like it should have been in the game, if that kind of makes sense, right? All right, let's keep reading. Next tier of renown up, you fight against mixed commoners, soldiers. Oh, by the way, the devs have stated that they are thinking about adding what do you call it? Adding specific units that only participate in tournaments, like very you know, so pretty much like specific units that are very good in combat that they're gonna add to tournaments to make tournaments kind of more a little bit harder, so you don't get those tournaments where you're just against a lot of peasants, right? And a lot of these one-sided fights. They want to make the fights a little bit closer, and I do agree with that. I think they should add that into the game, definitely. All right, so next tier renown up, you fight against commoners as soldiers and other nobles in the game with low renown. The bottom 10 nobles in the game, yep. And then you have to pay a certain amount of money to enter the tournament. Another thing, yes, I think there should be a pay to get into tournaments as well. I did forget about that, but I do agree with that as well. I think you should have to. Now, with my system of the whole, the three groups, which is like, let's say champion, intermediate, and beginner. When it comes to paying money, if you are a champion and you want to get to a champion thing, you have to pay a good sum. If you're a champion and you want to get to the intermediate thing, you're going to have to pay a little bit less money because obviously you're a champion. So they obviously are like, oh my God, we want you here. It's good promotion for us. You're going to pay a little bit less, but your reward's going to be a lot less as well because obviously you're fighting against a lot lower opponents and stuff of that nature. But I do think there should be something that you have to pay to enter the tournament because guess what? It's a risk and reward, so it makes sense. Next tier up, you fight exactly. He has the same thing that I said before. Same thing. The only thing that he doesn't state in this whole thing is we need a different counter that's not renown. It could be like tournament points. You call it TP, and then those go up and down based on your wins and fights. It's kind of like an elo. Think of it like an elo score, but for tournaments in the game. I think that would be so good. And I feel like, listen, like I said, if you're a mod developer and you're looking for ideas for a big mod that can be very successful, make a tournament overhaul mod and literally just use the base work of what I just said. Like do it. Like I'm telling you, do it. Like I know that there's a lot of mod creators that do have a very successful modding career. They also get jobs with companies that they look up to and stuff like that. So if you are wanting to break into that and you can do the stuff that I said, try it out, do it. I think it will it will be very successful in my opinion. I can't see it not being successful if it's done right. I can't see it not being successful. Now we got battle and combats. I can't really fault the combat says battles too much. They look great and they're a huge amount of fun. If I had some feedback, it would be the following. That is also true. I do agree with that. I think there's nothing like Mount and Blade combat. I think there's nothing like it. I really don't. The feeling that you're just this one like peon in a way, and in terms of like the whole fight, like it's not like other games where it's like I leveled up my character so much that I could just take on an army of dudes. You know what I mean? Like you can't do it. Listen, you could be the most leveled up person in either Warband or Bannerlord. You know what I mean? And you can still get outplayed by like 4 peasants. It just is what it is, and it gives you that good feeling. When you just lead a war and it just I don't know. It just so good. It's like the backbone of Mount and Blade, but they did it so right. I don't know how else to explain it. Like they did it so right when it comes to that, And I think hey, I'm gonna give them their props. When it comes to battles, when it comes to like overall combat, it's very simple combat too. It's nothing super crazy, but it's just like the atmosphere, the amount of different units clashing at the same time. I think is just amazing. It is what it is. I'm gonna give props when I gotta give props. They done did it. All right, let's move on. I think it needs to be possible to do basic strikes while holding your shield up. So overhead strikes like with one-handed weapons and pokes with pole arms. Interesting. That'd be kind of cool. Again, like I said before, I think we need a lot of different mechanics when it comes to combat. The crush through, where obviously if you have a two-handed weapon, you can if you hit somebody who has a shield, it still hurts them. That makes sense. We had a perk for archers where they they have a fast release thing. We need a lot more of these. Just so much more of these. I understand that I just said like that combat is kind of basic, but just having like these like small little abilities, nothing like out of this world or fantasy type of abilities. You know what I mean? Like since this guy's so leveled up, he can turn his fire into sword. Nothing that like breaks kind of like realism. But like stuff like this, like he states right here, if you have a one-handed weapon and you have a shield, you should be able to kind of do an overhand poke or an underhand poke. It makes sense. I agree with this. I think pikemen and spearmen need to be able to brace against cavalry charges. In fact, spears need a big buff. They do have like this ability to brace, but it's so bad. It's like you're just a standing target until the cavalry decides to run into you, which why would they run into you? You know what I mean? Like, it's, but yes, they should have this. And they should have a bigger buff, definitely. I think a lot of unit types should be automatically categorized with infantry, cavalry, archers, skirmishers, as they aren't at the moment. At least the battalion units I've been playing with, not a big deal, as players do this manually, I guess. Okay. They are automatically categorized. I think that you might be seeing that I kind of saw, and I thought, why does this happen? Is some companions might be put in the wrong category. If that kind of makes sense. I think some of the throwing weapons need to be buffed to be guaranteed kills on lower tier unarmored infantry if you hit them in the chest. The javelins seem to be far the most part, but throwing axes are quite underwhelming. I'm not used throwing knives, so no comment there. Here's my opinion, right? And this would probably be very hard to implement because it has to do a lot with physics. I think if you're gonna make spears and throwing weapons buffed up, I think there should be a huge chance that your spear or throwing weapon, let's say bounces off something or hits it with the blunt side or something of that nature, especially with like throwing axes, because like I feel like in most games where throwing weapons are introduced, it feels like whenever you throw it, if it hits the general target, it always does like impact damage, where in real life, if you throw a throwing axe, even if you're experienced throwing axe thrower, there are people who are very experienced at it. You obviously, if you're very experienced, you can always throw it in the way where it's gonna hit with the sharp side to whatever your target is. But at the same time, sometimes it hits the blunt side, and then the damage isn't as much. Yes, it still hurts, but it's not like an axe that cuts through you. You know what I mean? So I feel like if they're gonna buff it, they need to somehow work on what I said as well. Because if you just buff it, it just makes it just way too overpowered, and I think it's already way too overpowered in my opinion. I'm gonna take a drink. It's a lot of talking. I think for gameplay purposes, picking up throwing weapons should occur more easily. True. It could take up a lot of time to manually pick them up, or maybe automatically pick them up if you run back over them. Or have it so you don't have to aim down to look at them and press F, but rather can just stand or near it and press F to pick them up. I don't know, but at the moment throwing weapons except javelins seem a bit bad to use. I agree with this. I think there should be an easier way to pick it up. I think it's just the way that they, the way the coding works, that probably isn't feasible right now. But I get what he's saying. Like, if you were a person in combat and you saw like let's say a javelin on the ground and you were kind of farther back from your opponents, you would obviously pick it up and you would try to throw it. That just, it makes sense, right? And another thing would be very cool, in my opinion, thing that they could actually implement is give infantry units and archer units, units that aren't on horses, right, the ability to see a fallen throwing weapon on the ground and pick it up and throw it. I think that would make it so unique. It would make it so much more chaotic, and that's exactly what you need in these battles. And that you need more chaos. It just, I think that's one of the things that makes the battle so unique, is like the chaos within it, right? And just like if you made that feature where if an infantry runs by a throwing weapon, they are going to try to pick it up unless the enemy is very close. If the enemy is very close, they're not going to try to pick it up because they're going to get attacked. But if they are farther away, if they run past a throwing weapon, they're going to pick it up, and when they get in range, they're going to throw it. I think that makes perfect sense, and I think that should be in the game. Alrighty, I think that infantry with javelins, throwing spears tend to throw them at the enemy when they are a little too far away. I think also they should, if they are already, prioritize hitting enemy infantry over cavalry first. And then with infantry, they should prioritize hitting infantry with shields before infantry without shields before infantry with shields. I don't know if that's in the formation orders. Probably not, but I get what you're saying. You should be able to call out kind of what they prioritize, or maybe kind of like in the options. It would be cool if you had like party settings, where like that'd actually be very cool if you had like party settings like right under campaign settings. Whenever you hit the escape key or whatever the key is, right, to get to your main settings, if you could have like party settings where it's like all units in your party, if you have all these check boxes, if they are infantry, they will attack this, they will target this, they will try to do this, and then you can also have another drop down list for the armies as well. I think that'd be kind of cool thing as well. I agree. Alrighty, last thing, bugs, oversights, and miscellaneous. I've noticed there are some texture streaming issues going on where textures won't load properly and crossbows are still not produced and available enough. Yeah, they are working on that. We got workshops also seem to not be very profitable. They are also working on that. They have boosted workshops a little bit in the previous patch. Next one, I was not sure if there's still the case if it used to be, but if you spend money to make a caravan and a caravan gets destroyed, it wouldn't reform automatically and all the initial capital just disappears. I'd rather that assign comp to a caravan than run it and the caravan gets destroyed. I'd lose any profit capital from the trade run, but then just disappear for a while the companion automatically remakes the caravan. I don't agree with this. I think it makes sense if a caravan gets attacked and everything gets stolen, you know, when the units die, obviously you're going to need to put the capital up again if you want to start it up again. I think putting that on the companion doesn't really make sense either because he doesn't have the capital. He's not the leader. He's just, you know, he's your companion. Yeah, I don't know. I think the current system is fine. I think it's a risk and reward system. But, yeah, I personally, I don't know. I don't know about this one. Next, I really like that they've been adding more armors to the game. Though I think the stats and prices need some balancing work and normalizing. The progression curve at the moment when it comes to armor is a bit odd. And with trade being a really easy way to make money, it can be trivially easy to get the best in-slot armor before you even hit clan tier 1. True. Crossbows still seem to spawn far too rarely. Okay, that kind of goes with this first point. Then we have, what else do we have? There needs to be something to indicate the player how many animals they have in their party before they start getting a herd speed penalty. Oh, like how much they can have before they get the penalty. Okay, that makes sense. The devs have stated that right now that it is pretty much like 1 mule per 1 person. So if you, let's say, have 300 people in your party and you decide to get 300 mules, you shouldn't get the penalty. But if you start getting over that, you will start getting the penalty. That's kind of how they explained it. I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but they have said that in a previous post. And lastly, there needs to be an icon or something that better distinguishes pack animals, mules, sumpter horses. I call these guys stumper horses for the longest, and you guys always made fun of me. I don't want to hear it, alright? And generic camels from regular cavalry horses, better breed or camel, and again from war horses. I agree with that. You can put like a little icon there to kind of tell you which one is which. That makes sense, for sure. But alright, oh, we got some more. We got a lot actually. Let me know what you guys think. I might make a part 2 of this. I do agree with most of the stuff he said. Like I said, some stuff I don't agree with, like the caravan stuff, but it is what it is. I think overall, pretty good post, pretty good discussion. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my part of the discussion and my ideas. Like I said, if you guys like it, I'll make a part 2. But ask me any questions, any concerns, and like always, stay safe.